A few words about our country. 4 weeks into a new presidential administration, an administration that so far has been characterized by cruelty, chaos, and corruption. We'll speak a lot more about this in future rallies, but so what? What does this mean for Justice Southbury? Well, our vision is a more fair and kind community for all. And if we're serious about that, and I think by now we've proven that we are, then it has to mean something with respect to what's going on now in the federal government. The cruelty, the chaos, the corruption is not fair. It is not kind. It is not motivated by a real feeling of community, and it is certainly not designated for all. So much of what is going on is antithetical to what we here at Justice Southbury believe, so we need to speak about that. But what can we do? What's the path forward? What is our way out of this type of cruelty and chaos and corruption? Well, we still live in a country that's governed by a constitution, and not by a monarch, and not by a president, and not by the richest man in the world. We're governed by the Constitution. Now, the Constitution is only as good as those who would seek to enforce it. Right now, we have a congressional majority that seems at least to be just fine ceding its authority, and seems just fine to be saying, we're not going to stand up and insist on an America of rules and constitution and fairness and kindness in all. We hope that we can depend upon our court system, and so far there have been vigorous challenges to things that have gone on with this administration. That's likely to continue. This is a full employment act for lawyers because we're being kept busy. Not me personally, but we're being kept busy by the illegal acts of some. The courts will certainly play a role. The press will play a role. The press's role is made more difficult by the fact that the administration is very open and strong in its willingness and ability to silence voices. If you do not use Gulf of America instead of Gulf of Mexico, you can't come to press briefings. If you are the types of news organizations that don't just say that Donald Trump won in 2020 and is the greatest president of all time, you cannot have spaces in press rooms. That kind of thing is very difficult for the media to deal with. But so far there have been many brave voices that have been raised, and I assume will continue to be raised. So we hope that we can continue to rely upon a free press, as free as it can be, to speak up and to report what's going on. They also have an analysis function that can give people perspective. But it's mostly the reporting. It's mostly what's important is to make sure that we know what is going on, so that we then can do something about it. And that leads to the last part. Who are the enforcers of the Constitution? Well, it starts with we the people. And so we the people have a role, and it includes people who are willing to stand out in the middle of a snow and rain and slush storm to talk about things like this. Because if there were people on every corner of every town in America doing something like this, that type of vigilance would lead to a better country. If it was directed towards a more fair and kind community for all, that would be the result. So people like us need to continue to show up. We need to speak truth to power. And I don't just say that blithely. We need to speak, which means we need to be open and we need to communicate. We need to speak truth, which means we have to be careful that we're not just playing the game the other side says. We have to distinguish between truth and opinion. We have to distinguish between fact and fiction. It's really important that we are scrupulous in doing so. And we speak truth to power. That's difficult because speak truth to power inevitably means speak truth to those more powerful than you are. And there's plenty of people more powerful than we are, but there's no one more powerful than groups of people standing on corners in every town in America. Southbury. Southbury has almost 16,000 registered voters. In 2024, 83% of them showed up to vote in a presidential election, which is great. That still means that 1 out of every 7 people in Southbury who could have voted and who took the time to re-register to vote decided it wasn't important enough to raise their voice and raise their hand and enter their vote. In 2023, an off-year election, but which still determines all of the local government authorities, only 42% of people voted in 2023. In 2022, a congressional midterm election, 70% voted. 2/3 of Southbury registered voters, not eligible people, but registered voters. 2/3 voted and 1/3 did not. 2021, another local election, 41% of Southbury registered voters voted. 2 out of 5. 2020, which we thought was sort of the election of a lifetime, 82% showed up, which again, that's great, 4 out of 5, but it's 4 out of 5. If people like us in this town, in the next town, in this county, in this state, in this country, if we took more seriously our obligations to learn and to understand and to talk and to try to motivate and influence others, much can be accomplished. So show up and speak up and continue to do so. One of the ways we can do that is with the local conversations that we have. I want to just raise a couple of things just in this past week. Conversations I've had with people on Facebook. I sent out the Facebook notice for this week's Black History Month rally, and on one of the local pages, someone's comment was, "I don't think there is any black history other than peanut butter." Talking about the inventor of peanut butter. That is not enlightened, and so I engaged with this person, not because I thought it was going to change his mind, but because my hope is that someone will see that and see his comment, smart as it was, and my comment, whatever you thought of it, and form their own conclusions about how we should look at Black History Month. Another comment after the Super Bowl on Monday, somebody commented, "I'm tired of DEI halftime shows." So I commented to him, "You mean black? Why not just say it?" We need to continue to talk. We need to continue to speak up. We need to oppose hatred. And if we are serious about a more fair and kind community for all, we need to fight for it.